Dr. Hana Kim floated in the small observation deck of the research ship Dawn Seeker. She pressed her face against the thick glass window and watched the stars. They looked different here at the edge of space. More beautiful. More mysterious. "Still, can't sleep?" Dr. Wu Taemin asked as he drifted into the room. His gray hair was messy from his pillow. Even after 3 months in space, he still looked tired every morning. Hana turned to face her mentor. "The readings are getting stronger. Whatever's out there, we're getting close to it." Taemin pushed himself over to the control panel. The green lights showed everything was normal on their ship, but the special equipment Hana had built was showing something very different. Strange energy patterns that no one had ever seen before. "Show me," he said. Hana pulled up the data on the main screen. Lines of energy danced across the display like music made of light. The patterns were so complex that most computers couldn't even process them properly. "Look at this section," Hana pointed to a cluster of bright spots. "These aren't random, they're connected, like a giant web that goes through all of space." Taemin studied the patterns. He had been a scientist for 40 years, but this was beyond anything he had seen. "What do you think it means?" "I think the universe is alive," Hana said quietly. "Not alive like us, but aware, thinking, feeling." Before Taemin could respond, the ship's alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. The automated voice filled the air. "Warning. Unknown vessels approaching. Warning." Both scientists rushed to the main control room. Their pilot, Lee Sano, was already at his station. His face was pale as he looked at the scanner. "How many?" Taemin asked. "5 ships. Big ones." "They came out of nowhere," Sano said. His hands were shaking as he worked the controls. Hana looked at the display. The ships were massive, at least 10 times bigger than their small research vessel. They had the sharp, angular design that everyone in the galaxy feared. Corvani Empire warships. "This is Imperial Admiral Thexvar of the Corvani fleet." A cold voice came through their communication system. "Human vessel, you are in violation of Imperial Space Law 847C. Prepare to be boarded." Taemin stepped forward. "This is Dr. Wu Taemin of the Earth Science Council. We are conducting peaceful research in unclaimed space. We have all proper permits." "Your permits are worthless, human. You will surrender all research data and submit to Imperial authority." Hana felt her heart race. Everyone knew what happened to humans who fell into Corvani hands. The Empire had been expanding for over 1,000 years. They crushed any species that got in their way. Humans were still new to the galaxy, still weak compared to the great powers. "We can't run," Sanho whispered. "They're too fast." "We're not running," Hana said. She was already at her computer, typing rapidly. "But we're not giving them our research, either." "Hana, what are you doing?" Taemin asked. "The quantum resonance patterns. If I'm right about what they are, then this information belongs to everyone, not just humans, not just the Empire. Everyone." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She was setting up a special transmission using the same quantum principles she had been studying. If it worked, the data would be sent directly to Earth through a connection that moved faster than light itself. The ship shook as something attached to their hull. The Corvani were boarding. "Human vessel, you have 30 seconds to open your airlocks," Admiral Thexvar's voice commanded. "The transmission needs 2 more minutes," Hana said. Taemin grabbed her shoulder. "Hana, they'll kill us all if we resist." "They'll kill us anyway," she replied. "At least this way my research survives." The airlocks burst open. Corvani soldiers poured into the ship. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and black eyes. Their armor made them look like metal spiders. They moved fast and spoke to each other in clicks and hisses. "All humans will come to the main deck immediately," one soldier said in broken human language. Hana kept typing. The transmission was at 60% complete. A soldier grabbed her arm and pulled her away from the computer. But she had prepared for this. She pressed a small device in her pocket. The transmission would continue automatically. The 3 humans were forced into the ship's center room. Admiral Thexvar entered a few minutes later. He was bigger than the other Corvani, with scars across his face and metal implants in his skull. "Which one of you is in charge of this research?" he demanded. Taman stepped forward. "I am the senior scientist, Dr. Wu Taman." Thexvar walked around them slowly, like a predator studying its prey. "Your ship was detected scanning deep quantum structures. This research is forbidden to lesser species." "We didn't know," Taman said. "We were just studying energy patterns." "Lies." The Admiral stopped in front of Hana. "You, young female. You built the equipment. I can see the quantum resonance traces on your hands." Hana looked up at him. She was small compared to the towering alien, but she didn't look afraid. "The research belongs to all thinking beings. You can't own knowledge." Thexvar made a sound like laughter but colder. "Stupid human child. We own everything. Every star, every planet, every thought in every head." "Not this," Hana said firmly. "What I found, it's bigger than your empire. Bigger than all of us." The Admiral's black eyes narrowed. "Show me this research." "No." He backhanded her across the face. The blow sent her to the floor. Blood ran from her nose. "Show me, or I will kill your friend slowly." Hana wiped the blood away and stood up. Behind the Admiral, she could see her computer screen. The transmission was at 95%. "Even if you kill me, you'll never understand it," she said. "You're too small, your whole empire is too small." Thexvar pulled out a weapon. It hummed with deadly energy. "Perhaps, but I can make sure no one else understands it either." The transmission hit 100% just as he fired, but the weapon wasn't aimed at Hana. It hit the ship's computer core. Sparks flew everywhere as the system died. Too late. The data was already gone, racing through quantum space toward Earth. "Clever little animal," Thexvar said, "but pointless. Your research will die with you." "Will it?" Hana asked. Something in her voice made the Admiral pause. There was no fear there, no desperation, just calm certainty. "Sir," one of his soldiers called out. "The human ship's quantum array is still active. Something was transmitted before we destroyed their computer." Thexvar's expression changed. For the first time, he looked worried. "Where?" "Unknown, sir. The quantum trail leads outside our sensor range." The Admiral stared at Hana for a long moment. Then he spoke into his communication device. "This is Admiral Thexvar. Cancel the standard. Execution order. These humans are to be taken to Imperial Center immediately." He turned back to the humans. "You have done something very stupid, young scientist. Something that will cost not just your lives, but the lives of billions of your species." "We'll see," Hana said quietly. As the Corvani soldiers forced them toward the transport pods, Taman managed to whisper in her ear, "What did you really send them?" "Everything," she whispered back. "The quantum patterns, the energy web, all of it, and something else." "What?" "Proof that the universe has been watching the Empire for a very long time, and it's not happy with what it sees." The transport pod sealed shut with a hiss. Through the small window, Hana watched their research ship explode into bright fragments, but the knowledge inside it was already far away, racing toward Earth at the speed of thought itself. Admiral Thexvar had no idea that he had just made the biggest mistake in the history of his 1,000-year empire. The universe was about to remind him that some things were more powerful than warships and weapons. Some things were more powerful than fear. The Imperial Tribunal Chamber was the largest room on Corvin Prime. Its crystal walls reached up so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Thousands of floating platforms held cameras and recording equipment. Every screen in the galaxy would show what happened here today. Hana Kim stood in the center of the vast space. Her hands were chained behind her back. Her simple Earth clothes looked strange among all the alien technology. She seemed so small, but she stood straight and looked around calmly. Above her on floating thrones sat the 5 high judges of the Corvani Empire. Their black robes moved like living shadows. Supreme Chancellor Vexthul sat in the center, his ancient face carved with symbols of power. Citizens of the Empire, Vexthul's voice boomed through speakers across 847 star systems. Today, you witness the price of defiance. This human female dared to steal knowledge that belongs only to the Empire. On planets throughout the galaxy, billions of beings stopped what they were doing to watch. In the slave colonies, workers were forced to gather around screens. On the wealthy core worlds, people watched from their comfortable homes. Everyone had to see what happened to those who challenged Corvani rule. In a hidden bunker on Earth, Dr. Lee Jinwoo stared at the screen with tears in his eyes. Next to him, Dr. Park Soman gripped her chair so tight her knuckles were white. They had received Hana's transmission 3 days ago. Now they had to watch her die for sending it. The human will now confess her crimes, Chancellor Vexthul announced. Hana looked up at him. I have no crimes to confess. A murmur went through the chamber. Prisoners always confessed. It was part of the ritual. You stole Imperial knowledge. You transmitted classified information. You violated 17 laws of the Empire. I shared scientific data with my own species, Hana said. Her voice was clear and strong. Knowledge belongs to everyone who can understand it. Admiral Thexvar stepped forward from the shadows. Supreme Chancellor, this human is dangerous. Her research touches on quantum mechanics that could threaten Imperial security. What did you discover, human? Vexthul asked. What was so important, that you risked your life to send it away? Hana smiled. It was a sad smile, but also somehow hopeful. I discovered that the universe is not empty space with things floating in it. The universe is alive, it thinks, it remembers, and it judges. The Chancellor laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. More human mythology. Your species always thinks the universe cares about your small lives. It does care, Hana said, about all life, about justice, about what we do to each other. Then where is your universe now, human child? Why doesn't it save you? Maybe it is saving me. Maybe this is exactly what needs to happen. On Earth, Dr. Jinwoo was studying the quantum patterns Hana had sent them. His team had been working non-stop to understand the data. What they found was beyond anything they had imagined. Soman, look at this, he said, pointing to his screen. These energy patterns, they're not random. They respond to conscious thought, they respond to emotion. Dr. Soman leaned over his shoulder. What kind of response? Strong emotions create stronger patterns. But look at this. He showed her a section of the data. Pain, fear, anger, they create dark spots in the quantum field. But hope, love, sacrifice, they create bright ones. So what happens when billions of beings witness an act of great cruelty? What happens to the quantum field then? Back in the tribunal chamber, the formal charges were being read. Hana barely listened. She was thinking about her research, about what she had learned in those final days before capture. The universe was not just alive, it was moral. It had preferences, species that helped each other, that showed kindness and wisdom, found themselves blessed with good fortune. Their planets were rich, their technologies advanced smoothly, their people lived in peace. But species that chose cruelty, that built empires on suffering, found the universe pushing back against them. Their worlds suffered disasters. Their technologies failed at crucial moments. Their empires eventually collapsed no matter how powerful they seemed. The Corvani Empire had ruled for 1,000 years through fear and violence. They had enslaved entire species, destroyed countless worlds, murdered billions of innocent beings. The quantum field remembered all of it. The universe kept score. Human female, Chancellor Vexthul called out. Do you have any final words? Hana looked up at him. Around the chamber, cameras focused on her face. Across the galaxy, trillions of eyes watched her. Yes, she said. I want everyone to know that what happens here today is not the end of something. It's the beginning. The beginning of what? The beginning of justice. Real justice. Not the kind made by courts or governments or empires, the kind that comes from the universe itself. The Chancellor gestured to the execution master, a massive robot with arms like crystal spears. The machine moved forward with mechanical precision. You think your death will matter, human? You are nothing. Your species is nothing. Your planet is a tiny rock orbiting a small star. In a few years, no one will remember your name. Maybe, Hana said. But the universe will remember what you did here. It remembers everything. The execution master raised its weapons, molecular disintegrators that would tear her apart atom by atom, the most painful death the Empire could devise. Any last requests? The machine asked in its cold voice. Hana closed her eyes. I request that my death mean something, that it help bring peace to the galaxy, that it show everyone watching that cruelty always has a price. The time display showed 1552 Standard Galactic Time. Execute, Chancellor Vex Thule commanded. The weapons fired. Hana Kim disappeared in a flash of brilliant light. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched a young human woman die for the crime of sharing knowledge. Many had seen executions before. The Empire killed people regularly to maintain order. But something was different this time. The viewers felt something they hadn't expected. Pain, not physical pain, but something deeper. A wrongness that seemed to reach into their souls. On the slave world of Deltas 9, a mining foreman named Coll felt tears on his face. He hadn't cried in 30 years. On the wealthy planet Luxaria, a banker named Isel suddenly couldn't eat his expensive dinner. It tasted like ash. On a military station near the galactic core, Captain Herx found himself unable to give orders to his crew. The words wouldn't come. Something was spreading through the quantum field. A wave of emotion, of moral judgment, of cosmic disapproval. On Earth, Dr. Jinwoo watched his instruments go crazy. Some and the quantum patterns are going insane. What's happening? The execution. Hana's death. It's creating massive resonance cascades throughout the quantum field. Look at this energy spike. The readings were beyond anything their equipment was designed to measure. The universe itself was reacting to what it had just witnessed. In the tribunal chamber, Chancellor Vex Thule felt a strange sensation, a coldness that seemed to come from inside his bones. Around him, the other judges were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Sir, Admiral Thexvar spoke quietly. Something is wrong. My fleet commanders are reporting strange readings throughout Imperial space. What kind of readings? Gravitational anomalies, energy fluctuations. Some ships are reporting system failures. The Chancellor dismissed it with a wave. Post-execution jitters. It will pass. But it didn't pass. The quantum resonance was building, spreading, gaining strength with every passing second. The universe had witnessed an act of pure evil, the murder of an innocent young woman who had done nothing but seek truth and share knowledge. And the universe was angry. Dr. Jinwoo stared at his readings in amazement. Soman, I think Hana was right. The universe is alive, and it just watched the Empire kill her. What does that mean? It means, Jinwoo said quietly, that the Empire has no idea what's about to hit them. The time display showed 1553 Standard Galactic Time. 25 minutes until the most powerful empire in galactic history would begin to collapse. The universe had seen enough. Dr. Lee Jinwoo had not slept in 3 days. His eyes were red and his hands shook as he drank his 10th cup of coffee. Around him, the underground laboratory buzzed with activity. Scientists from all over Earth had come to help decode Hana's final transmission. Show me the pattern analysis again, he said to Dr. Park Soman. She pulled up the data on the main screen. Lines of energy danced across the display like a spider web made of light. But this web was bigger than anything they had imagined. It stretched across the entire galaxy. Every star, every planet, every thinking being, Soman explained. They're all connected by these quantum threads. It's like the universe has a nervous system. Dr. Kim Do-hyun looked up from his calculations. But it's more than that. Look at these resonance patterns. They respond to consciousness, to thoughts and emotions. How is that possible? asked Dr. Choi Nari, who had flown in from Seoul University. We don't know, Jinwoo admitted. Hana's notes suggest that consciousness itself creates ripples in the quantum field. Strong emotions create stronger ripples. And when billions of beings feel the same emotion at the same time, he trailed off as he looked at the latest readings. The quantum field was still vibrating from Hana's execution 12 hours ago. The energy patterns were unlike anything in their database. Captain Yoon Minho entered the lab. His military uniform was wrinkled and his face was grim. Dr. Jinwoo, we're getting reports from our deep space monitoring stations. Something is happening in Corvani space. What kind of something? Their ships are sending distress signals, gravitational anomalies, system failures. 3 of their battle fleets have gone completely silent. Jinwoo and his team exchanged worried looks. The quantum resonance was spreading faster than they had predicted. There's more, Minho continued. We intercepted some of their military communications. They're talking about reality distortions, places where the laws of physics seem to be changing. Dr. Somin pulled up a new section of Hana's data. This might explain it. Look at these dark resonance patterns. Hana labeled them as accumulated negative quantum energy. What does that mean? Nari asked. It means, Jinwoo said slowly, that every act of cruelty, every murder, every moment of suffering caused by the Empire has been building up in the quantum field for 1,000 years. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Do-hyun was the first to speak. So the universe has been keeping score? More than that, Jinwoo replied. According to Hana's research, the universe actively favors species that choose cooperation over conquest. It's not just random luck that some civilizations prosper while others fall. There are actual quantum mechanical laws that reward kindness and punish cruelty. He pulled up another file from Hana's transmission. Look at this historical analysis. Every great empire that fell in galactic history had the same quantum signature before their collapse. Massive dark resonance buildup, followed by a cascade failure. The Empire doesn't know this? Minho asked. How could they? They never studied quantum consciousness. To them, the universe is just empty space to be conquered. They never realized it was watching them. Soman highlighted a section of the current readings. But something triggered the cascade, something big enough to destabilize 1,000 years of accumulated dark energy. They all knew what that something was. Hana's execution, broadcast live to trillions of beings across the galaxy, had created the largest single quantum disturbance in recorded history. She knew, Jinwoo whispered. Somehow she knew what would happen. He pulled up Hana's personal notes from the final transmission. Hidden among the scientific data was a short message. If you are reading this, then I am already dead. But my death was necessary. The universe has been building toward this moment for centuries. Every species that has suffered under imperial rule, every world that has been enslaved, every innocent being that has been murdered, their pain has been accumulating in the quantum field like a storm waiting to break. The Empire thinks they are powerful, but they are nothing compared to the universe itself. All I had to do was give it a reason to act. My execution, witnessed by billions, will create the quantum resonance needed to trigger the cascade. I am not dying in vain. I am dying to set the galaxy free. Remember me not as a victim, but as someone who chose to pay the price for universal justice. The universe is about to remind everyone that cruelty always has consequences. The lab was quiet for a long moment. Outside, Earth's sun was rising over the mountains. It seemed impossible that such cosmic forces were at work while normal life continued around them. How long do we have? Minho asked. Jinwoo ran the calculations again. Based on the resonance buildup rate and the quantum field destabilization patterns, the cascade should reach critical mass in approximately 14 more minutes. Then what? Then the laws of physics in Corvani space will start to break down. Their technology will fail. Their artificial gravity will stop working. Their weapons will become useless. All of it? All of it. The universe is about to reject everything the Empire built through cruelty and violence. Dr. Nari was studying another part of the data. But look at this. The quantum readings around Earth and our allied worlds are actually stabilizing. It's like the universe is protecting species that show compassion. She was right. The same cosmic forces that were destabilizing the Empire were somehow strengthening the quantum field around peaceful civilizations. Hana figured this out too, Soman said, reading through more notes. She discovered that the universe has preferences. It actively supports cooperation, creativity, and kindness. Species that choose these paths find themselves blessed with stable physics, abundant resources, and technological breakthroughs, while species that choose conquest and cruelty find themselves fighting against the fundamental forces of reality itself, Do-hyun added. Captain Minho was getting reports from the monitoring stations. The distortions in Corvani space are accelerating. Their home system is showing massive gravitational anomalies. Some of their outer colonies have gone completely dark. Jinwoo looked at the main display. The quantum field across the galaxy was reshaping itself. Dark resonance that had been building for a millennium was finally being released. The universe was cleaning house. There's something else, he said, pulling up the final section of Hana's data. She found evidence that this has happened before. Other great empires that fell suddenly for no apparent reason. The Zephyrian Dominion, the Crystalline Hegemony, the Iron Federation. They all had the same quantum signature. Identical. The universe has been maintaining balance for millions of years. Whenever a species becomes too cruel, too destructive, the quantum field eventually corrects itself. And now, it's the Empire's turn, Minho said grimly. The countdown clock showed 8 minutes remaining. All across Earth, people were gathering around screens to watch the news from space. They didn't understand the science behind what was happening, but they could see the results. The most feared empire in the galaxy was falling apart. In the lab, the scientists watched in amazement as their instruments tracked the collapse. Entire star systems were reporting reality distortions. The Empire's greatest warships were drifting powerless through space. Their capital world was experiencing physics failures that made normal life impossible. She did it, Soman whispered. A young woman with a computer and a theory about quantum consciousness brought down the most powerful empire in history. No, Jinwoo corrected her. The universe did it. Hana just gave it permission. The readings showed the cascade was approaching its peak. In 5 more minutes, the 1,000-year reign of the Corvani Empire would be over. Not ended by war or revolution, but by the universe itself deciding that enough was enough. Hana Kim had died believing that her sacrifice would matter. She had been right in ways that even she could not have imagined. The universe had been waiting for someone brave enough to pay the price for justice. Now it was time to collect what was owed. Admiral Thexvar was reviewing execution reports when the first alarm sounded on his flagship. He ignored it at first. Small technical problems were common after orbital bombardments. But when the second alarm joined the first, then the third, he began to pay attention. "Report," he called to his bridge crew. Lieutenant Vexachar turned from his station, confusion clear on his angular face. "Sir, we're showing massive system failures throughout the ship. Artificial gravity is fluctuating. Weapons are offline. Even the basic life support systems are acting strange. Engineering error, have them run diagnostics. Sir, engineering reports that their equipment is working perfectly. The problems seem to be with physics itself." Thexvar stood up from his command chair. "What does that mean?" Before the lieutenant could answer, the ship's artificial gravity failed completely. Everyone on the bridge floated into the air. Emergency lighting flickered on and off like broken stars. Through the main view screen, Thexvar could see other ships in his fleet. They were all drifting, powerless and dark. Some were spinning slowly, their crews clearly struggling with similar system failures. "Get me Supreme Chancellor Vexthul," he ordered. The communications officer tried several times before shaking his head. "Sir, I can't establish a connection to the capital. In fact, I can't reach any Imperial installation anywhere. On Corvan, Prime, the heart of the Empire was dying." Supreme Chancellor Vex Thule stood on his palace balcony and watched his city tear itself apart. Buildings that had stood for centuries were phasing in and out of reality. The great towers of government flickered like candles in the wind. Below him, citizens ran through the streets in panic. Corvani technology had always been perfect, reliable, eternal. Now their flying vehicles crashed to the ground. Their communication networks went silent. Even simple tools stopped working. Chancellor, his aide called from inside the palace. The quantum physicists from the Imperial Academy are here. They say they have an explanation. The lead scientist, Dr. Kelthera, was old even by Corvani standards. Her skin was wrinkled like ancient leather and her black eyes held deep intelligence. Supreme Chancellor, we have analyzed the quantum field distortions affecting our space. What we found is unprecedented. Explain it in simple terms. The universe itself is rejecting our technology. Our weapons, our ships, our cities, they were all built using energy patterns that the quantum field now considers hostile. Vex Thule's eyes narrowed. That's impossible. Physics doesn't have opinions. We thought so too. But the evidence is clear. The quantum resonance cascade that began with the human execution has fundamentally altered the laws of reality in our territory. How long will it last? Dr. Kelthera looked down at her readings. Chancellor, I don't think you understand. This isn't temporary. The quantum field has reached a new stable state. One where technologies based on cruelty and domination simply cannot exist. The palace shook as another section of the city collapsed. Through the windows, they could see the great monuments to imperial victory crumbling into dust. Across the empire, the same scene played out on hundreds of worlds. Military installations that had controlled entire sectors went dark. Slave labor camps found their containment systems failing. Prison worlds watched their security barriers dissolve. On the mining world of Cruther 7, the slaves looked up in amazement as their chains simply stopped working. The energy fields that had held them captive for decades flickered and died. Their Corvani overseers tried to restore order, but their weapons were now nothing more than useless metal. Captain Herx, commander of the Fortress Moon orbiting Sector 9, watched helplessly as his base fell apart around him. The massive cannons that had kept 50 worlds in line were now silent. The shields that protected his installation were gone. Sir, his tactical officer reported. We're getting similar reports from every Imperial facility in this sector. Complete system failure across the board. What about the core worlds? The same, sir. Corvin Prime itself has gone silent. The entire Imperial communication network is down. On Earth, Dr. Jinwoo and his team watched the cascade reach its peak. Their instruments showed quantum distortions spreading across Corvani space like wildfire. It's incredible, Dr. Soman breathed. The universe is literally rewriting the laws of physics in Imperial territory. But only for technologies built through oppression, Dr. Do-hyun noted. Look at these readings from the liberated worlds. Their basic infrastructure is untouched. It was true. On planets where the Empire had built schools and hospitals, those structures remained stable. But weapons factories collapsed. Military bases crumbled. Anything designed to cause suffering or maintain control through fear simply stopped functioning. Captain Yoon Minho was coordinating with Earth's deep space monitoring stations. We're getting some strange reports from the border regions. Imperial, ships are just drifting. No power, no communications, no life signs. Are they dead? Jinwoo asked. We don't know. Some seem to have life support, but everything else has failed. It's like the universe decided to spare the crews but destroy their ability to harm others. Dr. Nari was studying the philosophical implications. It's perfect justice, isn't it? The Empire built its power on fear and violence. Now the universe has removed their ability to use fear and violence. Back on Admiral Thexfar's flagship, the crew was struggling to understand their situation. The ship's basic systems were working. They had air, water, and food, but every weapon was dead. Every communication array was silent. Even their navigation systems showed nothing but static. Sir, Lieutenant Vexichar reported, I've managed to get a short-range scanner working. You're not going to believe what I'm seeing. The main screen flickered to life. It showed space around them filled with drifting Imperial ships. Hundreds of them, all dark and powerless. The entire Third Fleet? Every ship, sir. And based on the debris patterns, it looks like the same thing happened to the Second and Fourth Fleets. Thaxavar felt something he had never experienced before. True helplessness. For his entire life, he had been part of the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Now he was trapped on a dead ship, floating in space with no way to call for help. What about the escape pods? He asked desperately. They work, sir. But there's nowhere to go. Every Imperial world in range is showing the same quantum distortions. On Corvin Prime, Supreme Chancellor Vexthul made a final attempt to restore order. He gathered his remaining advisors in the deepest bunker beneath the palace. How do we fight this? He demanded. There must be a way to reverse the process. Dr. Kelthera shook her head sadly. Chancellor, you cannot fight the universe itself. The quantum field has reached a new equilibrium, one where the Empire's methods of control are simply impossible. Then, what do? We surrender, not to an enemy army but to reality itself. The age of the Empire is over. Above them, the last of the great Imperial monuments fell. The towers that had proclaimed Corvani superiority to the galaxy collapsed into rubble. The energy shields that had protected the elite from their own people flickered and died. In the space of 26 minutes, the most powerful empire in galactic history had become nothing more than scattered refugees floating in the dark. On Earth, the monitoring stations detected the final phase of the cascade. The quantum field across former Imperial space was stabilizing in its new configuration. The universe had finished its work. Dr. Jinwoo looked at the readings with a mixture of awe and sadness. It's done. The Empire is gone. What happens now? Captain Minho asked. Now, Sumin said, studying the data from the liberated worlds, we see if the galaxy can build something better. The quantum field showed promising signs. On worlds that had been enslaved for centuries, the readings indicated growing stability and harmony. Species that had been forced to fight each other were already beginning to cooperate. It seemed that the universe didn't just punish cruelty. It also rewarded compassion. Hana Kim's sacrifice had done more than destroy an empire. It had created the possibility for a new kind of galactic civilization. One built on cooperation instead of conquest, on wisdom instead of war. The universe had spoken. Now it was up to the survivors to listen. 6 months later, Captain Yoon Minho stood on the bridge of Earth's first deep exploration vessel, the Hana Kim. Through the main view screen, he watched the ruins of what had once been the greatest empire in galactic history. Still hard to believe. His first officer, Lieutenant Park Ji-hyo, said softly, "All that power gone in 26 minutes." Minho nodded. They were approaching the former Corvani home system. Long-range scans showed massive debris fields where mighty battle fleets had once patrolled. The planets themselves were still there, but the great cities and military installations had crumbled to dust. "Any life signs?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Scattered. Populations on the outer worlds. They seem to have basic settlements now. No advanced technology, but they're alive." It was the same story throughout former Imperial space. The Corvani hadn't died. The universe wasn't that cruel. But their ability to build weapons of war, to create tools of oppression, had been permanently removed. They had been reduced to a simple, peaceful species starting over from nothing. Meanwhile, the species they had once enslaved were building something new. Dr. Lee Jinwoo had spent the past 6 months traveling to liberated worlds, helping establish the Hana Kim Institute for Quantum Ethics. The response had been overwhelming. Hundreds of species wanted to understand the science behind their freedom. On Veltis 3, former slave world turned into a center of learning, Jinwoo addressed a gathering of beings from 40 different star systems. "What we learned from Hana's research," he explained to the diverse crowd, "is that the universe has moral preferences built into its fundamental structure. Species that choose cooperation over conquest find themselves supported by reality itself." A delegate from the crystalline Consortium raised one of her many arms. Dr. Jinwoo, how can we be sure this will not happen to us? How can we avoid the Empire's fate? By remembering what destroyed them, Jinwoo replied. Cruelty creates dark resonance in the quantum field. Kindness creates bright resonance. The universe literally rewards good behavior and punishes evil. Another delegate, this one from the aquatic world of Nereid, bubbled a question through his translation device. But what if we make mistakes? What if we accidentally cause harm? The universe understands the difference between accidents and deliberate cruelty, Jinwoo assured him. Hana's data shows that intent matters. Species that genuinely try to do good even when they make errors maintain stable quantum fields. It was true. In the 6 months since the Empire's fall, Earth and its allies had experienced unprecedented prosperity. Their crops grew better. Their technologies advanced more smoothly. Even their weather seemed more pleasant. The universe was rewarding their choice to help rather than conquer. Dr. Park So-min was working on the most ambitious project yet, a galactic communication network based on quantum entanglement. Unlike the Empire's networks that had been designed for control and surveillance, this one would be built for sharing knowledge and fostering cooperation. It's beautiful, she told her assistant, engineer Han Jio, as they watched the network come online. Every connection makes the whole system stronger, the exact opposite of how the Empire worked. The Empire had been built like a pyramid, with power flowing from the top down. The new galactic civilization was being built like a web, with every world connected to every other world as equals. On the former capital world of Corvin Prime, Dr. Choi Nari was leading an archaeological team through the ruins. They were searching for something specific, the site where Hana had been executed. They found it in what had once been the center of the great tribunal chamber. The crystal walls had collapsed, but the execution platform remained, surrounded by a strange phenomenon that none of their instruments could explain. It's a quantum stasis field, Nari reported to her team, but unlike anything we've ever seen. It's perfectly stable, drawing energy directly from the quantum field itself. At the center of the field were Hana's personal belongings, preserved exactly as they had been on the day of her death. Her notebook, her research tablet, even the small photo of her parents that she always carried. But there was something else. A message crystal, the kind used for personal recordings. Somehow it had survived the execution and the collapse of the city around it. Nari carefully extracted the crystal and activated it. Hana's face appeared in a small hologram, young and serious and somehow hopeful. If you're watching this, the recording said, then my plan worked. The Empire is gone and you're free to build something better. The archaeological team gathered around the tiny hologram in amazement. It was like receiving a message from a saint. I know it's hard to understand why I chose to die, Hana continued. But I discovered something important in my research. The universe doesn't just punish cruelty. It rewards sacrifice made for others. My death was necessary to trigger the quantum cascade, but it was also necessary to show the universe that not all beings are selfish. She paused, as if looking directly at them across time and space. Don't build monuments to me. Don't make me into a legend. Instead, remember what I learned, that every conscious being has the power to change the universe simply by choosing to be good instead of evil, kind instead of cruel, generous instead of selfish. The message flickered as the old crystal strained to continue playing. I died believing that the galaxy could be better. Now it's up to all of you to prove I was right. Build something worthy of the price that was paid for your freedom. The hologram faded, leaving the team in silence. Dr. Nari wiped tears from her eyes. Around her, beings from a dozen different species were doing the same. Somehow, even in death, Hana Kim was still teaching them. Back on Earth, the world's leaders were meeting with representatives from the new Galactic Cooperation Council. The old empire had ruled through fear and force. The new alliance was built on the quantum principles. Hana had discovered that cooperation was literally supported by the laws of physics. The question before us, said President Kim Young-ho of Earth, is not whether we can build a better galaxy. Hana's sacrifice proved that the universe wants us to succeed. The question is whether we have the wisdom to stay worthy of that support. Admiral Texvar, former commander of the Corvani fleet, sat in the back of the assembly hall. He had been one of the few Imperial officials to request asylum on Earth rather than return to his ruined homeworld. Now he served as a consultant helping the new alliance understand how the old empire had failed. "I watched her die," he said when called to speak. "I thought we were executing a criminal. Instead, we were creating a martyr who would destroy everything we had built." He looked around at the diverse gathering of beings who had once lived in fear of his ships. The Empire thought power came from fear. We were wrong. True power comes from earning the support of the universe itself. That young human woman understood something that we, in all our arrogance, never learned. His voice grew quiet. She died, believing that her sacrifice would free the galaxy. Looking at all of you now, working together instead of fighting, I think she was right. Captain Minho's ship, the Hana Kim, completed its survey of former Imperial space and returned to Earth with a comprehensive report. The news was better than anyone had dared hope. "Every liberated world is showing signs of rapid recovery," he reported to the Galactic Council. "Species that had been enemies for centuries are now cooperating. Trade networks are forming. Scientific knowledge is being shared freely." "Any signs of new conflicts?" asked the delegate from Proxima Station. "None. It seems that the quantum field actively discourages aggression between the liberated worlds. Several border disputes have been resolved peacefully when the parties involved realize that cooperation literally makes their technology work better." It was true. The universe was rewarding the new civilization's commitment to peace. Worlds that signed cooperation agreements found their crops growing better, their machines running smoother, their people living longer and happier lives. Dr. Jinwoo stood before the assembly with his final report on quantum ethics. "Hana was right about everything," he said. "The universe is not neutral. It has preferences. It wants life to flourish. It wants conscious beings to treat each other with kindness and respect. And it will actively support civilizations that make those choices." He activated a holographic display showing quantum readings from across the galaxy. "Look at these patterns. Every world that has embraced cooperation shows bright, stable quantum resonance. The old Imperial worlds that are struggling to rebuild also show improvement as their people learn to work together instead of against each other." "So the universe truly is on the side of good?" asked the delegate from Altair 7. "The universe is good," Jinwoo replied. "Or rather, goodness is built into the fundamental structure of reality. Kindness, cooperation, sacrifice for others, these aren't just moral choices. They're literally how the universe prefers to operate." As the council session ended, delegates from hundreds of worlds began planning the future. They would build schools instead of weapons factories. They would create art instead of instruments of torture. They would explore the stars, not to conquer them, but to understand them. In a small memorial garden on Earth, a simple stone marker bore Hana Kim's name and a short inscription. "She taught us that the universe has a conscience,